What's going on, everybody? This is the veteran handyman. In today's episode, I'm replacing a door. Now, this door right here has a built-in doggy door. So if you have animals and you want them to go outside, well, this is one of the choices that you actually can get installed at your house. Now, there are other choices too, but you know what? Believe it or not, this was the cheaper option. Now, if you want to find out how to get something like this installed in your house, how much it costs, how I learned to do this and everything else, well, make sure you stick to the end. Alright, so to get started, the first thing you need to do is, like with any other door replacement, you just need to take this old stuff off. Believe it or not, this is the easiest part of the job. All you gotta do is get yourself a utility knife and then just cut the paint and the caulking away from the structure, either on the inside and the outside. And the reason you do that is simply because once you start pulling the trim off, it's just not going to peel the paint away with it. So it's going to minimize damage, so it's going to make your life a little easier. Once you have all that stuff off, what I personally like to do is I like to use a reciprocating saw with a multi-purpose blade on it, so that way I can cut through the nails and screws and separate the actual frame, the door jamb, from the frame of the house. This process right here, believe it or not, is fast and furious, and it doesn't really take that much time. And once I have everything cut out, or I believe so, then all I do is I make a cut in the door jamb like that, so it makes it easier to pull out. Once everything is out, the next step is gonna be cleaning up. I simply like to clean up, and then whatever nails or anything sticking out, I just like to pound them back in, pulling out, and then it just it makes it a little easier to work on. As you can see right here, I'm just getting rid of all the nails and the screws that are sticking out. And every situation is going to be a little different, but you get the general idea. Also, this is a process where I actually get the new door in. But remember, before you actually get your door purchased or try it in or do anything with it, just make sure the opening actually works. Normally, your opening needs to be at least minimum, I would say, an inch bigger than the actual size of your door. And so whenever you go buy your door, just measure the general opening of your house, uh, frame opening, and then make sure that it's at least an inch bigger than the door you're trying to purchase. And that's about it. Another thing that I'm going to talk about in this video is the door jamb itself. As you can see, the door jamb of this door, the new one, does not match the old one. This one right here is for a 2x4 framing. And as you can see, the framing on the house, it's a 2x6, so it's actually thicker. And I usually have to do this all the time when installing new doors, because the other choice is having to custom order a door with a bigger door jamb, and that is just not going to work out. You can see right there. So whenever I install these types of doors, I make sure the inside it's flush with the drywall to minimize work for me. So at least one side of the door is going to be flush, even, and I'm not going to have any issues at all. And then the other side, it's going to have the rough opening that I'm going to have to build out. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But you can see right here, it's flush. And not always it's going to match 100%, so you may have to pound the drywall a little bit and make sure that your door is actually square. You want a square, top and bottom and side to side. And then this is where I use shims, and I make sure that everything is just the way I like it. You're gonna see online some people like to take the door off when doing this during this process, and I don't, because I want the door to line up. I don't care about the door jamb. I care about the door. It needs to open, close, and the reveal between the door and the door jamb needs to be as close as possible, even to the frame. And that's why I like to keep the door on. Another thing that you probably didn't catch earlier, I have a screw into the frame on the hinge side, and that is what's holding the door in right now. So it's loose, just so that way it doesn't fall over, but loose enough for me to be able to move the door around and adjust it the way I need it. This process right here, believe it or not, it's gonna take the longest. Just squaring the door. Not every opening is gonna be square, and just take your time. Just get a level, and then just take your time. It's really not that difficult. It is common sense. One quick tip for you is sometimes the door is not gonna line up. One side is gonna be level, the other side is gonna be level, but somehow the door is still not going to line up. Your floor is gonna be level, but yet the door is not going to line up. Well, I can tell you a lot of these doors are not 100% square from the factory, and you may have to put a shim underneath the threshold, so that way you need to lift. You're gonna have to lift one side up or the other, and that's gonna make everything line up. I've had to do that many times, even when the floor is level. So just keep that in mind. And one easy way to make sure everything looks great is just by looking at the reveal, which you can see right here. It lines up perfectly. So, and right here I just put in screws. I usually concentrate on the strike plate area where the door is gonna lock. I just make sure that that area is secure. I have a bunch of shims, screws, and that it's not gonna move anywhere. Normally, I like to use screws to secure my doors. Some people like to use nails. I'm not an expert, so I can tell you there have been many times where I needed to make adjustments after I screwed the door in, and then having screws makes it a lot easier to make those adjustments because I can just, unscrew the door and move it around. With nails, it's going to be a lot more difficult. So I personally do not like to use nails. And besides, nails will pull out, and I just like screws. And that way I can adjust also the actual door jamb, because sometimes it's not going to be straight. The door jamb is going to be bowed because you have to understand it's wood. And wood, many times, depending on the moisture level in your area, it may swell, it may shrink, and it's going to bow. And I've had many times door jambs that are not straight, and I actually have to force it straight. And I usually have to use like clamps, or I have my helper help me push or pull the door jamb, and then I screw it in place to keep it straight. But anyways, just take your time. It's common sense. You can get this done. If you want to find out how much money you can save yourself, just stick to the end of the video and I will let you know. Right here, I'm building out the door jamb on the outside. I normally do this on most of the doors that I installed because the framing in my area, exterior framing, it's always 2x6 on newer homes. The doors that you can buy off the shelf at box stores are meant for 2x4 framing. Maybe in a different part of the country, the framing on the outside is 2x4, but not in my area, so I always have to build it out. Yes, you can special order the doors with a thicker, wider door jamb, so that way you won't have to do this. If you're a homeowner, you can go ahead and do that, and that way it will save you for doing this, from doing this. But personally, it's not worth it. The price is a lot higher, and this step right here, it literally only takes 30 minutes or less. And in my honest opinion, it gives the door a different look, a custom look. You get like a double reveal and looks super nice. You can see right there. And then the door itself has like a groove on the door jamb, and I just follow that groove so that way my door my framing looks even all the way around. And I put shims behind it. I line it up, and then as I line it up and make sure everything's good, then I go ahead and I use a brat nailer to secure it in place. So let me show you right now. Over here I'm just nailing the extension on. They do have extensions you can buy at the store, but to be honest, they don't work for me. I still have to rip them and make them smaller, and it's just a lot easier for me to buy the wood. As you can see over here, I'm just lining it up perfectly. I have shims in the back to hold the wood in place, and I just make sure it's even, and then I nail it in place, and it will not move. And as you can see, this will give you like a double reveal. It looks nice in my opinion. And doing this right here, like I said, may take me an extra 30 minutes to do, but it saves me several $100s and time from custom ordering a door with a wider door jamb. So yeah, like I said, sometimes you just gotta, improvise. I taught myself how to do this. It was just common sense because whenever I did my first door ever, I watched tons of videos online, and well, guess what happened after I took the door off? I didn't realize the door jamb didn't match, so I had to figure something out. But thankfully, it worked out for me, and this is what I do with all my doors. And the wood that I use is a 1x3 pine, and I have a table saw that I have to rip it to size because, as you can see, the houses here are stucco, so the thickness of the stucco varies. So sometimes that 1x3 you may have to rip it into 1 inch or inch and a half. And over here, I'm just installing the trim on the inside of the house. Normally, I like to pre-glue it in place and then just nail it to the framing around the door. But in this case, I didn't. It was just a little faster, and I didn't have my glue that I use for gluing trim. But this method works just the same. This is what most people did back in the day before people started gluing the corners together, pre-gluing them, and then installing the trim around the doors. Either way works. If you have a helper, it makes it a lot easier to get those corners squared. I was trying to save a little time here, so I did the inside first, and that way my helper could paint the inside of the house and finish up while I finished the outside, just to save some time. Time's money, guys. So over here, I'm just cutting the stucco outside because I like to recess my trim into the stucco so it gives it a cleaner look. I could have gone on the outside. I just like it this way. It works better for me. And anytime that you need to cut stone, stucco, tile, or anything else, I can tell you I've been using this blade for well, actually about 2 years now. And I'm still using the same blade I have from day one and still cuts the same. And what blade is that? Well, I can tell you that is Wonder Blade! Anyways, so here I'm just cutting off the stucco around to make room for the trim. I tried to make it as close as possible, like a tight fit, so that way I don't have to do any stucco repair. And like I said earlier in the video, it's always good to get a utility knife and cut the caulking around the trim, so that way it will not damage any of the surrounding. But as you can see, it looks amazing. And that little gap right there, all you gotta do is just get some caulking, silicone, fill it up, and that will make it waterproof. And that's it. Easy, fast and furious, saves you tons of money. For those of you wondering how much, well, this job right here with materials included, I believe it was either $2,000 or $2,500. So, for a day's work, it's not really that bad. As always, if you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? If you liked the video, don't forget to like it, and I will see you next time.